And now, of course, with AI, it really helps them to even accelerate so much more faster. So it's like giving the tools to go to the market far much faster and also to implement their business plan.
Still struggling in terms of what to do, how to do it, and how to do it correctly.
Well, with your question about how do I even begin to kind of keep myself constantly transforming and changing, I think one of the few things in my experiences has always been adaptability is very important. So it doesn't have to be taking like any marketers, but basically I think having adaptability is one of the strengths that anyone can have, and it is actually one of the strengths that we can hold to in whatever situations that comes our way. So I think this is one of those things that I believe it cuts across any industry, but I think generally as life, we need to learn to be adaptable because we have came through COVID, we have came through all sorts of crises and war, and these are things that in order for us to just keep our lives running is adaptability, and that would mean also resilience, right? So because resilience is one of those things that if we do not face conflict, challenges in our lives, we never really grow. So that's why even those times where I come from more traditional kind of a background in marketing to then transiting to digital, then transiting to AI, is having the humility to know that there will always be things that will evolve and always be changing, and things can get really more and more advanced each day. But how do we actually keep ourselves resilient? And then that also comes back down to our mindset. And our mindset is where we talk about having to renew our mind and to be transformed. So how do we begin to renew is to understand and embrace the changes that is really happening and not to resist. So having to learn to embrace does take courage because we don't know what we don't know, right? Yeah. But on the other hand is that as we begin to see that we can learn from somebody who has also run that race before, or maybe they're just a few steps ahead of us. So there's always certain things that we can learn from each other. Just like you, although you came in as my student, but I always love treasuring the time that I can converse with my students because I feel like I have so much to learn from my students as well. If not for the interaction that a trainer can actually be interacting with a trainee and have that evolution conversation to keep us moving to find new solutions to the kind of problems that may evolve from day to day, right? Yeah. Then would actually just keep us back to the setback is we will always think that we know better. But if we come with a cup empty, then we'll learn that actually we have so much, right, that people can fill into our cup. And that's why this is the power of learning. And true learning and education is where transformation of the mind happens. And this is where we can capture the thoughts in our minds, right, to be able to truly live out and manifest the kind of different types of lives that we can actually live out. So not subjecting ourselves to like situations or crises that we've always been caught in.
Thank you, Linda. I agree with you. And because you mentioned about COVID, so I think this is what most people curious because we go through the COVID, but we don't even have time to look back. Yes. So what is really the most in-depth crisis happen of business transition or affect business owner, and why marketing is so important for businesses right now, and why it have to be involved AI? What do you thought about that?
Yes, one of those things I am really blessed to feel like although many people will be like, hey, COVID is a bad thing, but to me, I see it as an opportunity for my growth. Why? Because, always when we have conflict, we'll be able to find resolution and then to live out and to be transformed and coming out more powerfully. So as an example, during COVID, as if I had continued to run my business the way that I ran it before COVID, I would have found myself today pretty much jobless, or possibly the business would not have thrived. Why? Because from the very onset of COVID, everybody's business was shut down. So I remember my first crisis was, oh no, all my clients were shutting down their campaigns, and everybody is calling, hey Linda, you know what, we need to shut down our campaigns, we're not going to have budgets to run anyway, I can't open for business, so I don't need my SEM, I don't need my SEO, I don't need my leads to be coming in, because we're just not going to have business. So the first thing first is they will cut back all the budgets, and it's in marketing, right? So reality sets in, right? Then the next thing is, but I still have staff, I still have the business there. So how do we actually keep ourselves going? And one of those things that I started to really ask myself, like, to be composed and say, okay, now this is a situation for everybody. Everybody is like a reset to zero now. So if everybody is reset to zero, it's a great opportunity. Why? Because you and I shares the same benchmark. Now the next thing is, how do we run this race? Correct? And this is where it gets me thinking about, how about if I couldn't do my business like it was before, running campaigns for organizations? But the next thing is, could I then bring education, mentorship, and all these different types of training that people can actually start coming in for training? Because when we were all busy with our businesses, bosses will be like, hey Linda, I don't have the time to learn. But now there's no business, everybody is free, and say, hey, why don't you then come in for classes, learn something, and you get ready, and then you go back into the business world when COVID resumes and your business are back, and we can even be stronger and better. And so this is exactly what has happened. And it was also true that there were so many opportunities that I could actually tap into in the area of education academies, working with them to bring certification, education, skill sets, training, mentorship. And we had the opportunity to kind of like revive the business, but just tweak it a little bit more, but make it more meaningful. And in this case, right, having to see that transformation of the business. So I no longer rely 100% of my business on just running campaigns, but more so I have reshifted and reformed the way that I run my business in a way that is not just more lucrative, but also more meaningful, where it brings about the changes, right, to people's lives. And that's where we feel the most fulfilled, because we could see that whatever that they used to say they can't do it, but now they could do it. Now, of course, with AI, it really helps them to even accelerate so much more faster. So it's like giving them the tools to go to the market far much faster, and also to implement their business plan. And you could see that instantly the next day people could already run, right, with having to set up businesses, running consulting firms, or possibly even getting their business.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will come back with you with another episode and another amazing guest. Bye.